Hey, you guys, welcome to ReveDraws. I'm gonna give you guys some time. Come on. All right, let's get this started. As I said before, hey you guys, welcome to ReveDraws. I'm Rev Already, and this is where I stream my art to Twitch and to YouTube. For those watching on YouTube, VOD, hi YouTube! Here is where I share story times with you all while I draw. If you're wondering, yes, all these stories are true. They they truly happened to me. And as I said last time, Life Haru, the webtoon, is literally all these experiences, but just adding different elements to it. But let's get back to Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con 2016 shenanigans. Now, mind you, last time I explained that Katsu ran off on, we thought we can just, let him to just go off on his own. Joke's on us. His phone died. He comes back with signed manga. I think it was manga and comic books. And then, wow, I think back for a moment. And then he comes back with all kind of figurines and stuffed animals. Usually when you're looking for somebody for a long period of time, you get angry. But I was like, well, Carl was like, well, give him a little grace. He's happy. And like I said last time, Carl was in the vicinity, so just threw them all on her. And then she was like, absolutely not. So she threw it over to Aoi, and Aoi was like, why do I have to grab it? And Carl told him, because life is not fair. Then he said, fair enough. And then Rumiko, as I said last time, she won the contest. Now, mind you, she was wearing stilettos with the thin heel. Now, mind you, she was walking in these since we came there early that morning until we left. Well, joke's on her. She thought, prior to coming, she was like, I can do this. I can walk in these heels, no problem. After the contest, we were waiting for Katsu, and her feet started hurting out of nowhere. Now, mind you, whenever she was so comfortable there that she started taking off her shoes. She was gonna kick them off like she's at the house. And I told her, no, ma'am, no. Well, Karu told him, no, ma'am, you cannot do that. So Karu said, just give me the shoe. Just give me your heels. And she said, good. And she just threw them in her hands, and she was holding them. She'd rather hold them than holding a bunch of Comic-Con stuff. I'm just saying. So, since Tomboy already, picked her up princess hold already, Karu was like, you know what? Why don't you have her on your back? Now, mind you, Tomboy's on his phone, minding his own business, and he was like, what? Why do I have to do it? Now, Karu had to remind him that he bought he bought everything. He bought the bunny girl suit, all that. So Karu kind of, guilt tripped him into taking responsibility for all that, and just said, and then said, you know what, Rumiko, get on his back. And she was like, I don't care whose back I get on at this point. He had to stand up, and she jumped on his back. She just leaped on his back, basically. Now, he said the one thing that you're never supposed to tell a woman. Now, he told her You are top heavy. I was scared for him at that moment because, I was scared for this poor man. Oh, God, I didn't change it. But, I was mortified for this man. I'm like, oh, Lord, does he want to live? Like, because the thing is, he thought he said it under his breath. And I was like, ooh, you shouldn't have said that, bro. I was like, bro, you shouldn't have said that. But I mean, like, he thought she wouldn't hear it. And I was like, ooh, man, you should have just shut your mouth. But she, gave him the look. She gave him that, like, look, the auntie look, when you did something wrong. And I was like, you shouldn't have said that, bro. And she said, what the hell is that supposed to mean? And then Carter had to whisper in her ear what that meant. And she was like, I'll kill you. I said, sorry, man. She's going to kill you. And he said, you're no help. I said, I know I'm not. But, I tried to give him ultimatum. Basically, Carter tried to give him an ultimatum saying, think of it like this. You may shoot your shot today. And then, that gave him a little hope. Funny enough, it gave him hope. And he's like, okay. He got up and just, kept her on his back. And then, as I said before, I had to remind her, because at first she was like, I don't want him on my back. And I told her, Carter told her, shut up. Like, she was just, just angry. And then after, she got angry, Tomoe started to feel on her leg, on her thigh, and Rumiko told him, don't get any ideas, I'll kill you. She said, I will use the K word. I'll use the K word. And I was like, ooh. And she was like, ooh, don't do that, please. Because, you can't kill him. You can't do that. Sweetie, you can't do that. She was like, why not? And I was like, he bought you the clothes, sweetheart. He bought you the clothes. He bought it. He bought all that. The most you can do is, Carter said, the most I can say is that you can thank him. You don't have to do any favors or anything like that. He probably doesn't want anything in return, but don't know his mind. Like, maybe he may want something, maybe he may not. Carl was like, I don't read minds, so let's just see how this goes. So, after Katsu got all his little goodies, we all started to go back. Tomoe and Poppy drove back to the hotel. Mind you, the hotel was a few blocks away. We were all too lazy to walk there. I mean, I wouldn't walk either. Mm-mm. But as we were walking, she realized, Rumiko realized one thing and one thing alone. How am I supposed to walk back? How is it that thing she realizes that she got cold? Because, she has a bunny girl suit on, and her legs are exposed even though she's wearing tights. She's freezing. So, she complained, and Tomoe had to rush her to the car. Basically, she said, take Take me to the car now. I'm freezing. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys know right now. I'm trying not to swear as much. God's working on me. But I digress. She complained and complained. And she complained too much for me. Carl, and that's saying something. But I still love her. I still love her to this very day. But as they all got to the cars, we reminisce and we laugh. They reminisce and they laugh at what was going on. And from that moment, we were like, yay, we went to our first Comic-Con together. Yay. Like, yay, went to our first Comic-Con together. We had fun. And then on the way back, to the to there, it's funny. I say it's funny because the nerds there were like, I saw you at the Comic-Con. You were so pretty. I wonder. And then to make it so bad, they all said, do you go to Kutztown? And she said, yeah, why? We all do. They said, so that's where I see you. You always usually look so mean all the time. But you smiled at the contest. Now, all of them looked at the nerds like, you just asked for a death wish. She doesn't smile much, but there's a reason behind it. But man, don't say it out loud. Don't say the quiet part out loud, man. I'm like, Lord, they said the quiet part out loud. You can't do that without getting harm being done. Which I was surprised. She didn't, yell at him. So I was like, you know what? She's a work in progress herself too, but I'm happy for her. Happy she got it together. But I digress. On with the story. We got back to the thing is, when we got back to the once we got back to the hotel, just like I said the last time, she started taking off her buddy girl. She started, peeling it off. And we said, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. And she was like, look, at this point, I don't care who sees me. I said, we care. The girls and I care. We care if you show all that. They don't need to see all that. Now, mind you, Tomway paid for the hotel. Mind you that. Paid for it all in full. So you can just imagine. He may not, express it, but he wants to see all that. So, around when it was a little later, both Rumiko and Tomoe went to Chinatown. They thought Karu didn't see it. We're not stupid. We saw you leave. They all saw him leave. So, that's a no-go. So, knowing the person that, Karu is / me, want to be nosy. Want to be a little nosy. Just a little, not a lot, just a little bit. And we asked, girl, what were you doing in Chinatown? What were you doing? Tell me, what were you doing in Chinatown? She's like, it's no big deal. It's nothing. He just wanted to get me something to eat. Now, mind you, I told her, sweetie, that was a date. She's like, no, it's not. Now the girls told her too. No, sweetie, that was a date. That was a straight up date. You just acting stupid to it. You're acting oblivious to it. But the girls were like, you're so oblivious to it. Now, Haru, that is me, said no, she is mentally aware of all that. She's very aware to what's going on. She just didn't know how to process it very well, if that makes sense. So, but I mean, if you like a guy and you don't know how to express yourself, that's fine. It's okay, it's okay to admit that that you don't know how to express your emotions to somebody that you like. That's okay. And I told her that. It's okay to not to not know how to express your emotions towards a guy you like. No one's perfect. No one's perfect in this world. Okay? But I told her, Haru, that he likes you back. You just need to learn that not to let certain not to let certain things deter you from your blessings. Because I told her, he comes from money. Don't block your blessings, sweetheart. And yes, Toboy comes from money. I said, stop blocking your blessings. What's wrong with you? Now, she said, well, I don't know. Even though he comes from money, I don't know how he is. I told her, Karu told her, don't block your blessings because you are scared. That man wants her. Because anybody who knows, don't block somebody's blessing. If they're a friend or they really care about you, they tell you not to block your blessing. But I digress. They come back with food for just them, not for anybody else, just for them. So basically, all of the rest of the gang just like they had to walk around to find places to eat. And I will say this is the blessing of having Katsu and Rumiko as friends, because Katsu speaks French and Italian. So he helped us get food, and also Rumiko speaks Portuguese, so that helped out too. So we got a few places to eat in from them talking to the people, which I was like, because a girl like me is a sucker for Spanish food and Italian food. Love both. And don't get me wrong, I am not using my friend. She was not using her friends to get free food. No. She just, didn't want to block her blessings when it came down to get food. But, we all got our food. As they were just, sitting back at the hotel as waiting for all of them. It's like, yo, I hate you. Why would you hide this? Why would you hide this information from us? That you guys, first of all, they didn't tell us that they went to Chinatown. So we're just, what? You went to Chinatown? You didn't bring back no food for anybody? You guys are horrible. You aren't the S word. Let's put it that way. I said you aren't the S word. And Rumiko was like, no, we are. It's just that we asked you all what do you want to eat? And you didn't reply back to us. So we just said, screw it. We're eating food. You guys are grown. You can salvage for yourself. So I was, all of us were a little hurt saying, we're college students, man. We're college students, man. We could get jobs, but it's hard out here for us. And Rumka was like, oh well. I was like, you doing us wrong now. Especially me. I've been through thick and thin with this girl. Thick and thin. But I digress. They came back, and like I said, they came back. We were salty about them coming back with no food, but whatever for us. But I'm okay with that because you know what? It is what it is. But as we were, chilling and minding our business, and it almost looked like he was confessing to her from a it almost looked like she was about to confess her feelings and he was about to confess his feelings to her. But oh, I forgot to add, she was drinking at the time. So she looked like she was about to confess. I was like, ooh, she's drunk. Let me get her. But then I had to think about it. I'm not blocking her blessings. She may, tell him, but knowing her, she didn't tell him. She got scared. Let's put it like this. She became aware to what her action she was about to pull. And she was like, I'm not doing this. He asked, like, what did you want to tell me? I was like, she said nothing. Nothing at all. I was like, and my nosy ass was like, she would have got him if she just would have told him. But oh well, to be honest with you, out of all my friends, he was my favorite ship. Those two are my favorite ship. And yes, I do ship my friends. I did ship my friends. All of them. It just, irked me that she didn't, like, it just irked me, just irked my soul a little bit. But I mean, like I said before, she went through a lot. But next next time, if you like me, if you would like, I have no problem going into how I met her and the trauma she received prior to meeting me. Now, I will say this. If you do want me to do it, it's not for the weak. For what she went through to stomach it's not for the weak. Put it that way. Not for the weak. But yeah, she was, yeah. But yes, what she went through was not for the weak, but I digress. But basically, she almost confessed her love to him. He was looking forward to it. I was like, I don't know how to tell him he not gonna get that for a hot minute. She may, express her emotions towards the end of like, thought she would express her emotions to him a little later on down the line or something. But I haven't spoken to her in a hot minute. But I have a feeling she she I have a feeling they ended up together at some point because he loved her I mean, he loved her, loved her. Like you couldn't like it. That's how he loved her. He was crazy for her. So if they end up together, I'm okay with that. She deserves happiness. He deserves happiness. But like I said, but like I said, but after the Comic-Con, we basically, you know, we went basically after the whole Comic-Con thing, we went exploring in New York City because, we wanted to explore New York City. Now, mind you, we wanted to go on the New York subway. Now, my intuition told them, my intuition and Rumiko's intuition said no. And they were like, what, we want to do it. And, Rumiko and Karu looked at each other like, just let their dumb asses. Now, they went on there, and there was a youth pastor, a drug addict, and a drug addict, youth pastor, and another man who was minding his business. Now, and oh no, it's not just a drug addict. It was a drug addict and her. It was two drug addicts. I think they were a couple, or they were friends. It was nuts. But basically, as they were all sitting down, they can't speak today. The drug addict, female drug addict, was looking at Aoi and how pretty his eyes were. His eyes are. And I didn't mean to say are. How pretty his eyes are. And she just got real comfortable. Now, mind you, Harper was sitting right beside him. This lady pushed her and sat right next to him. Now, mind you, he is very uncomfortable from this. He started prayers. Now, mind you, this man is a Catholic. He was saying all kind of prayers. It was hilarious. Now, everyone else was trying to keep it in, died laughing. But Karu was like, leave that man alone. He is visibly uncomfortable. Because the female drug addict was trying to touch him, like touching his face, touching his body, scared. Now, the youth pastor, he was visibly there, and he didn't say anything. Now, Karu gave the youth pastor eye contact, like, help this man. What you doing over there? Help him. And then, he finally mustered up the courage and said, oh, God, no, Pen, don't fall on me. But mustered up the courage and said, I kid you not, well, you can't touch that young man. And I rebuke, I kid you not, he said, I rebuke the spirit of addiction on you, young lady. The spirit of addiction. I was like, and Karu was like, shut up. You could have said all this a long time ago and de-escalated this. You see his visible discomfort. And got the nerve. Ooh, got on her nerves because that youth pastor really could have diffused this. But the other man who was sitting across from them was like, he literally said, look, that young man looks uncomfortable. Why are you bothering him? And Karu and Rubiko looked at him like, you're big enough to push her off him. Why don't you do that? You're not useful either. It's okay to mind your business, but still. Man was so uncomfortable. The woman got up because she started feeling uncomfortable that everybody was saying that, eventually other people on the subway start looking at her and saying stuff. But, they started, saying stuff, and she got uncomfortable, and then she moved. And then the other guy, he got mad, saying things like, how dare you mess with her? Leave her alone. She hasn't done anything to you. She is minding her business. And I was like, if minding her business means harassing somebody, that's not cool. But I digress. After all that happened, happened, they stopped where Times Square. They went to see Times Square. They went to see where today was, all that stuff. And Karu was baffled at all that. And you know what? She's told herself when she finishes, she wants to, live there. And after she saw that, she's like, I want to live in damn New York City. I'd rather swallow a box of nails before she lives there. Cause look, if that's gonna happen, nobody wants to do that. And then some of the people up there are rude. Southern hospitality me, please. Southern hospitality me, please. But yes, Southern hospitality me, please. Southern hospitality me, please, Lord. Southern hospitality me, please. And you know it's bad if that's not what I'm looking for. But yes, Southern hospitality me, please. Yes, Southern hospitality, please. But yes, Southern hospitality, please. But other than, Southern hospitality, please. We all, crazy enough, after we did all that, we came back to the hotel. We told ourselves we're not coming back to New York unless it is death, unless it's dire. Well, I guess we did go back when it was just, Karu, Allie, Rumiko, and Poppy. They did go back up there. But we're not going to talk about that. So, we were, they did go back. But for that sake, I'll talk about that at a later date. But, they went. Oh, we can't do that now. We can't let her have, can't let her have black scleras. That means there's a problem. But after all that, they went back they were on the way back to campus. Now, mind you, majority of them, other than Rumiko and Katsu, those two live in Pennsylvania. Live in Pennsylvania. The rest of them, well, also Karu lived in Pennsylvania at the time, but everyone else, they lived in New Jersey. Now, mind you, in New Jersey, this is a rule. This is a law, by the way. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot pump your own gas. How about Allie forgot that and looked around like somebody pumped my gas? Now, Karu was dumbfounded because she's like, how the hell do you forget that you're not in how the hell do you forget so fast that you are in Pennsylvania? Now he told Karu, shut up, leave me alone. Now, mind you, the people that are there at the gas station are looking at him real crazy because Karu went out and pumped the gas. They asked old man asked him, why you got that woman pumping your gas? And then Karu had to break down. He doesn't live in he does not live in Pennsylvania. He lives in New Jersey. And they're like, oh, okay, now it clicks. Still should know how to pump your own damn gas. I was like, oh my gosh. Karu pumped the gas and they went back to the campus. Now, when they went back to campus, they all went their separate ways. They minded their business. Now, after all that, Rumiko made a tres leche cake. Actually, no, she made it prior to. It's just that she had to warm it up. Just, because it was freezing for a whole weekend. Karu said, hey, I heard you made a cake. Now, she said, yeah, I made a tres leche cake. Why do you ask? She said, why didn't you tell me you made cake before you left? We could have brought that with us. Now, mind you, Rumiko is very picky about who she makes food for. Now, she likes us. She loves us. And because she loves us, she makes cakes for us, explicitly for us, and for other people she likes. So, with all that to say, she shared her cake, which is a rarity. That's very rare for her to share. And once she shared it, everybody fell in love with the cake. And they're like, hey, can I have some more cake? She said, yeah, sure, whatever. She, like I said, she made the cake. Everybody loved the cake. And then they said, hey, can you make another one? She's like, are you going to buy me ingredients for this said cake? And they didn't think about, they weren't thinking about the fact that it costs to buy ingredients for cakes. And now Karu made cakes and stuff too. And that's when she had to break it down to them like, you got to pay, it costs for ingredients, right? And they were like, yeah, but you got to tell us if you need ingredients. Now, Karu was like, if you knew that and you begging for a cake, she was like, you know what? I'm not. She said, I'm going to my room. And then Rumiko's like, you're not going to eat your cake. Karu said, I'm definitely going to eat my cake now. Don't get it twisted. I'm going to eat the cake. I'll come back later to bother you. She said, okay. And yes, I did bother her. I really did bother her. But it was all out of love. There's that. So yeah, it was all out of love. But after that, I said everybody went their separate ways. Some of us had to do homework. Some of us had to have club activities. You know, that's what we all did. But Karu, on the other hand, now mind you, this girl is, at the time, she was failing math. So Aoi was her math tutor because at the time, the other math tutors, they didn't want, like this, her professor did not want the other math tutors to tutor her. So they explicitly asked him. Now that's a story for another time, but another story time. But yeah, they asked her. They're like, you know what, teacher, and she was like, oh, okay. And everybody on campus loved them some Owie because of his pretty eyes. They loved themselves some Owie. They were like, oh my god, Owie's so handsome. I wonder if he's single. Now, mind you, as all this craziness is going on, now, Kara didn't know how bad his situation was at the time. Because, she was like, oh, he's a sweet guy. He may be an asshole to her, but he has a good heart. As like she was getting to know him. And to find out, he had stalkers. And those girls were stalkering. It was so bad. I don't know if YouTube may, get on me for saying this, or Twitch. But it was so bad that they were taking pictures of him on, like, taking pictures on pictures on pictures of him. Because, ironically enough, the girls who were stalking him, I part of knew them personally, and they were taking pictures of him because that next week, well, weeks prior, she saw these girls. They're like taking pictures of him, and she was like, "Hey, what y'all doing over here? What you doing?" Because the thing is, they were making money off of his pictures, and it wasn't just Aoi. It was Tomoe. It was Leo. They were taking pictures of them and selling them on campus for top dollar. And, you know, Carve saw the money and was like, so how much money have you guys made so far? And they delightfully told her a few K. Why? She looked like, you guys are making like bank over here by looking at them. And she didn't think about it at the time or at the moment. But one of them took advantage of the fact that one of their room friends is one of Carter's roommates. So what all that to say, now Abby is like knocked out of sleep at the moment. And Carter walked away for a moment to go to the bathroom. Now mind you, Carter went to the bathroom to take a shower. And once she comes back, because when she was in the bathroom, she took a shower, did what she needed to do, and changed her clothes. And she comes in there saying, "What the hell are you doing? This man is sleeping. What the fuck is wrong with you?" And they were like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were here. You didn't see my shoes? And you, like, did you not see my shoes?" She said, "Did you not see my shoes over there? Girl, I'm possibly here doing something." And then as she yelled, How he woke up to see a girl pulling up his shirt. He's mortified and he doesn't know what to do. And it got so bad that the next the next time he came back to Karu's room, he didn't know what to do because he was scared. And after that, he didn't really come back over to her room like that, so she had to go to his room because of that. But back to the girls who were making bank. She caught, well, Rumiko, was minding her business, reading another Blueford book. I can't think of the name of it for the life of me. But she was reading the book. I can't think of it, but she was reading another book, and her nosy radar kicked in, saying, "Why are those girls following? Why are those girls over there? What are they doing? Why are they over there watching Tomoe run?" Oh, mind you, Tomoe runs. He was on the track team, and they were just eyeing him up, and they had a little ninja over there taking pictures of him. And Rumiko confronted them like, "Hey, why are you taking pictures of them?" And they were like, "Leave us alone." And she was like, "What? Tell me what's going on, and then I'll leave you alone." She said, "Well, we're taking pictures of Tomoe." And then, Rumiko's smart. She put two and two together and said, "Are you guys taking pictures of him and selling them online and selling them across the campus?" And she said, "Well, yeah, that's what we're doing." And she was like, "How much money are you guys making from this?" And she said, and they said a few K. And then she said, "Who's helping you manage this money?" And she said, "Well, we have a business major." And that's when she knew right there, yeah, you guys are managing that money well. I'm just going to give you a heads up. Hey, be careful. What happened if they find this out? And she was like, they wouldn't find out even if I told them. And from then on, this little thing happened. It was just going on for a good minute until they got bored, and they had to they got bored of it, but then they came back and did it, which to me it's mind-boggling. But they made so much money from taking pictures of them. Now, well, also the girl who was doing it, who the person over the business major said, if you tell them that you did this, she's gonna blackmail us. And the thing is, that girl has seen, now mind you, that girl has literally seen the crazy things me and Rumiko did prior to meeting our friends. Which, that's a story for another day. But yes, all the crazy shenanigans they did, and they were like, "You know what? Go ahead and do what you need to do." Like, you know what? Go ahead and do what you need to do, sis. Go on, have some fun. So, like I said, we minded our business as we should, but it's still kind of messed up. I digress. As this, but also, funny enough, she split it amongst us for hush money purposes. So, for a hot minute, they couldn't tell they couldn't tell their friends what was going on, because the money was, other than the blackmailing, the money was like talking. this is really messed up. But the thing is, we weren't gonna like, take pictures of them because that would be like, messed up. But at some point now, all three of the guys are smart. But the thing is, they tried to get Katsu in on the mix by using his expertise, in which we kind of told him, don't add him in this madness. He don't deserve to be in this madness. And they're like, he knows how to do computers. And Karu and Rumiko said, well, yeah, that's true, but don't get him involved in this madness. And they were like, fair, okay. So they did to the next best thing. They used their friends, because one of the girls had a boyfriend, and that boyfriend was using them to get information and pictures out of them, which that is wild but brilliant. Oh man, that was a wild time. But we both felt bad about doing that to him. Doing that to them. We felt bad, but the money was speaking to us. The money was speaking to us. But as the money was speaking to us, we, during that time, well, yes, we hung out with our friends, but we also hung out with our Black Student Union friends, because later that night, we went out to somewhere in Philly. We had fun. We had fun. We did a little drinking here and there, but we had fun. Rumiko and I met up with our friend Kendra. Like I said, for namesake and for confidentiality, we're gonna call them different names. Kendra. We met with Kendra, and she asked, "Hey," she asked Rumiko, "Hey, let me ask you this: have you met anyone of late? Do you have eyes for a certain man?" And she tried to play it off, but she tried to play it off. I'm like, ma'am, you can't play that off. You know you like that man. You know you love him. And she openly admitted this in front of Kendra, mind you, and said, "Yeah, I kind of like someone, but I don't know if he feels the same about me." And knowing Karu, she busted in the conversation and said, "That man is in love with her." And she was like, "Oh, okay. If he likes her, I would have meet him." Now, knowing Karu, she said, "I don't know. You may be too strong for him. You may be a little too strong for his taste." She said, "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Kendra said, "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" He, let's put it like this. Rubiko said he's used to us. He's not you. He may not be used to you, but he used to us. And she was like, "What's that supposed to mean?" And then, you're like, "Oh, I don't know. Should we let her meet him?" She said, "I don't know. I don't think he's ready." Mm-mm. She said, "Uh." She said, "If you don't tell me, I'll find him on campus. That is a fact." Like, tell her, man. This girl says she gonna find him on campus. Mm-mm. Don't find him on campus. But eventually she found him on campus. But it's like a few weeks later, but yes, she met him on campus a few weeks later, but it's for the events that lead up to chapter. But yes, we're a little scared, but other than the fact that we were a little cautious for her to meet him, we after that the three those three went to the caf. They ate, they laughed. Those Karu and Rumiko told her about their experience in New York City, and Kendra just literally said a few things. It said, "Girl, why the hell were you on the subway? You need to be careful because they have a lot of addicts up there. You don't know what they got going on in their head. And also, why the hell didn't that youth pastor stand up and help?" I'm not trying to bring race into this, but like, Howie already looks white. Mind you, he's not fully white. He's white and Cuban. So from a distance, he looks white. But up in people's faces, he looks, black. But that's another story for another day. But yes, why do I have that? Stupid. But yes, that was special, a little special. Mm-mm. Let's find a color palette that'll fit her. You know what? We gonna use this color. But yes, she, as usual, Kendra's a little judgmental, and then it's like this. She's judgmental as hell, but then she'll say, "You know what?" Basically, she said, "You know what, though? At least you guys had fun. At least you had fun. You stayed on your best behavior." And she pointed, basically. I know who she was referred to. It wasn't Karu this time. It was Rubika. She's like, "Well, I'm glad you stayed on your best behavior, and that nothing crazy happened other than that." But she also said, "Now, I'm gonna need you. I'm gonna need." She told Rubika, "I'm gonna need you to come home for the holiday, for Halloween, because there's a party at Temple." Now, mind you, girl came from Temple, and she was like, "I don't know if I want to go back." She was like, "I'll be with you, and Karu will be with you. Don't worry, that man's not gonna do anything to you." And she was like, "I don't know. I'm still a little skeptical." She said, "Listen, if he tries something, I'm gonna him up respectively." And Karu was like, "Exactly. I don't." Now, she literally told her, I never liked that dusty nigga in the first place. I was like, no. I was like, the backup car was about. She was like, I know she didn't call him that. You can't say what we all think. Can't say what we all think. But yes, that's what she called him. A dust N word. So, but yeah, she called him that. I was like, oh Lord, why are you like this? Yes, she called him those explicit things. Dusty N word. And all I could say was, why are we doing this again? Like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we doing this? Like, why? Like, why? Why are we? Why? But she said, look, I know you were thinking it. Rumiko was definitely thinking about it. And I was like, why? Why are you like this? She said, look, we all thought it. Somebody had to say it out loud. I love her, but also I love her, but I hate that she always tells people, always says what people are thinking. But you know, but after that moment, something in Karu said, I need to. She let's put it like this. As you know, Karu was laughing with Rumiko and Kendra. Something didn't seem right to her. She felt something wasn't right, and she didn't know how to explain it, and she didn't want to scare Rumiko. So she kept it to herself. Well, yes, she should have told her, but it's like you can't change it now. It's it's supposed to happen or not. You can warn them. You can warn them. If you can't, you can't. It is what it is. But yes, but as that as that played out that night, they went we they went to the caf. They they all hung out together. But this time around, Tomoe came to sit with them because he saw them. He saw a familiar face because prior to coming up there, girls were crowding around him like he was, like a piece of candy, and he saw a familiar face. Now, from the distance, Karu saw from the distance that this man looked like he was distressed, like distressed. And she was like, "Is he okay?" And Rumiko said, "Nah, he's not okay." She was like, "Nah, that man is not okay. He is stressed. Man is stressed." And then Karu just texted and said, "Tell them to get the hell away from you and say that you're hungry. And if they don't move, they're persistent as hell." He used that excuse. He used exactly what she said, and they swarmed. They left. They left him alone after that. He said, "Thank you," and he randomly hugged Karu, and she was like, "Why are you hugging me? You looked so uncomfortable earlier." And he was like, "I don't care. I just needed to get away from them. They wouldn't leave me alone." And then Karu basically said, "You ever thought about telling them to like that you're busy or whatever, and that you just don't want to talk to them?" He said, "I have, but they don't listen." I was like, "Damn, them girls are persistent as hell. I don't know what to tell you, bro. It's like you're no help." That's Karu said, "I know. Who said I was supposed to help? Told you I was supposed to help you." She said, "That's not what friends don't do to each other." I said, "We are friends, but I just want you to realize, tell them girls to get away from you. This is a learning experience. Tell them to leave you alone, and you'll be so much better." And then Rumiko, as she was eating her food, looked at, she ate her food, and then she took her fork out of her mouth, saying, "She's not wrong. Tell them no, and they'll leave you alone. But if they're persistent as hell, run." He said, "I can't run." And after he thought about it, and then he laughed and giggled, and those girls from the distance were mad. They were just like hot with her because he laughed. He was like laughing with her, and that made them mad, like super mad. It was so bad that they started creating rumors about her. Like they were just creating all kind of like messy rumors about her, saying she's all kind of things. Now, mind you, at the time, Tomoe didn't know that they were creating rumors about her. But, Rumiko was like, those are not the first time someone's created a rumor, a false rumor about her. So she's like, whatever. But those rumors led to something else. But I'll talk about it next time. If you guys want me to discuss the events of chapter 13, I mean. But, I should have saved that thing. Oh, okay, where that was. I'll finish this and I'll erase that. I didn't know that. That's not what I want. But yes, those more but girls were persistent. I'm now I've seen persistent, but these girls were uber persistent. And in all my 31 years of life, I ain't never seen a woman so persistent. I'm like, y'all need to do better. Come on, girls. I need you to do better. What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, ma'am, I'm gonna need you to get your life together expeditiously. But who child the ghetto? And then, as they were creating these rumors about her, those girls are no better, calling her ghetto and all these things. But they were just mm, they were being thirsty and all kind of stuff. I look, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I was supposed to be mean. I didn't know if I was supposed to be rude. But they were just talking bad about her. In the back of my mind, I'm like, ooh, child, the ghetto. Y'all just doing the most. I'm talking bad about her, well, calling her all kind of ghettos. And then these are the same girls who are going to class in their jammies. Like, no, ma'am. Who's the ghetto one now? Like jammies. It was a lot. Oh god. If I can't even go into detail about how mad I got just hearing them call her ghetto. I was like, ooh. Mm-mm. But even though they called her ghetto and all these things, they just called her a lot of black stereotypes. But the thing is, Rumiko just kind of kept to herself and she minded her own business because she doesn't like to be bothered by people. She don't like when people bother her because how would you it's more of a how would you feel if someone bothered you constantly and then get surprised when you tell them to leave you alone? So from that perspective, how would you feel if someone just, harassed you just because? But another thing is this too. Rumiko is pretty. She's very pretty. She had like the perfect body. She's a beautiful black woman. She just didn't know she was beautiful herself because no one ever told her she was pretty. Like, but believe it or not, Tomoe always reminded her how pretty she is. She wasn't used to a man telling her she was pretty. And all of us would do like, the rest of them would say, "Oh, you're pretty, you're pretty, you're pretty." It brought up her confidence a little bit. It would bring up her confidence because that's what she needed, a little confidence. But they would call her all kind of, oh, those girls just got on my nerves. But you know what? It is what it is. And yes, don't worry, I can spell. All right, what? No, I'm not doing all that. We're gonna create a whole new thing. We're gonna look up a pattern today. We're gonna give a new pattern to her phone. She's a purple girly, so I'm gonna give her this. Let me color a case first before I do that. But yeah, no, that made me mad about that. But no, let's put it like this: it didn't make Karu mad. It just aggravated her. Made just made her mad a little bit, made her a little mad. But also those girls were racist too. They were openly racist. And they were so bad that they would always call the RAs on either, Haru or they do it to Rumiko, but they did it mostly to Rumiko because they're spoiled and entitled and they did it because they feel like it. But what get they were spoiled and entitled. They thought they were right. Now, mind you, Haru was cool with everybody. Yes, Haru was cool with everybody. So for her, this didn't really bother her because she's cool with everyone. Everybody is cool with her. You know what? During this time, I will change Haru. I'll erase that thing over there first. Thing in the back over there. But yeah, they bothered for the first. Yes, it is. Find the layer. No, that's not the layer. Okay, found the layer. But, you know, ooh, stressful time in my life. And Carl's like, but that girl. But yeah, back to the RA. Now, cool with the RA. And she knows that the she fucks with the RA. And the RA was asking, why the hell are these two women coming to me every few days? Explain that to me. Now, Karu and Rumiko tried to keep a straight face as they said this, by the way. And they literally said, because they're racist and they try to say we're black and loud. He literally looked at them like, are you serious? And Karu had to literally tell them with a straight face, I'm dead serious. And then, he had to, go, he had to literally, and then, he had someone monitor them for a hot minute, had somebody monitor them. And then it got out that they really were being racist. And then they told they told the people, and they didn't do anything because they were tired of them too. So I can already tell they were tired of their ass too. But eventually, the RA said, now the RA, because Carl was cool with him, it got so bad that one night the RA was sitting outside smoking a so bad. He was smoking a Lucy. I was like, oh God, they're putting him through it. He was like, oh Lord, they putting you through it, my boy. He said, shut the hell up. Talk to your talk to that Rumiko came outside. Now mind you, she was already outside reading a book. No, I think she was reading her textbook outside. And she said, why the hell are you smoking by me? And he turned around and said, oh, Rumiko, I didn't see you back there. And she put her book down in her lap and said, you know you're not supposed to be smoking cigarettes. And and the guy was like, well, look, as I said before, them white girls are putting me through it now. I need somebody to call them out or something. I can't do this. Now, Karu tried not to laugh because it's hilarious. They said they didn't put me through it. He said they put me through it, man. They keep on getting on my nerves. How do you deal with them? And Rumiko told him, I don't deal with them. I mind my black business and go on with my day. I mind my business. And the RA, he's black himself. He said, you know what? You did the right thing. Minding your black ass business. And then Rumiko's better saying, hell yeah, mind your black ass business. You'll live very long in life. Said it. And they both said exactly. So they can do whatever they want. But seriously though, they should have took Allie and Poppy's warning. But it is what it is. It happens. What happens, what happens. But yeah, they were just, just laughing, and somebody, ironically enough, it was the two girls who came out saying, I smell cigarettes. And the RA, now he was already fed up with these two, and he literally told them, what the fuck are you gonna do to me? tell the police, and they shut up and then they left. They went basically they went down the stairs and went to the cab, because they were putting poor boy through it. And then after he got done with his cigarette, actually no, scratch that. He didn't have a cigarette. I didn't mean to say he had a Lucy. That's not what he had. He had a blunt, which was hilarious. He's like, look, he was holding like it was a Lucy, but basically he had a blunt he had a blunt in his head. And the thing is, after he blew out the smoke, the first time he said that to those girls. Second time, and he blew out some smoke and said, if you guys think you gonna say something to me, go ahead. Because I know you guys have boyfriends. They can come at me too. I will knock the hell out of them. Come with it. Ironically enough, they told their boyfriends and they came up to him, said, he told them, I told you, if you bring your boyfriends up here, I'm going to beat them up. But they had, funny enough, he didn't have to beat them up. They were told to get away from him. It was funny. They thought they can beat him up, which was hilarious, by the way. Hilarious. They thought they could beat him up, and he wasn't gonna, like, just stand there. But I already knew the guy. The guy was gonna screw him up and F him up anyway. They ain't know that. Yeah, they know that. But yeah, after, they threatened to, beat him up. Yes, they threatened to beat him up. After, they did all that, threatened to beat him up. Got the nerve, tell their boyfriends, whatever. And then after all that craziness happened, Karu gets a call. And it's from nobody else but, she gets a call from Aoi. He's asking, hey, something seemed off. How are you okay? And, Carl's like, I'm fine. Why? I'm outside of the calf and I see somebody's about to square up and hit somebody in the face. Are you okay? Now, Karu told Aoi, now that's not me. I'm extremely short. I'm 5'1". He said, yeah, you're right. You are short. So who else is over there with you? It looks like a man's over there with you. But Carl was like, yeah, the RA that those two white girls won't leave alone. And he's like, oh, who are the white girls? And the thing is, they were like, we don't know who these white girls are, man. They're just bothering us for no reason. Literally, they were just bothering him for no reason. And after, they were, bothering. After, they stopped. But yeah, basically. And then Aoi came over and the girls were like, oh, hi, Aoi. Why are you over here? What brings you here? Why are you over here? And he said, he was pointing at Karu and Rumiko saying, those are my friends. Why are you bothering them? And then that's when, Aoi said, are you bullying them? And she tried to act like, well, no, I'm not bothering them. And said, yeah, they're. And that's when the RA was like, yeah, these bitches are these issues are bothering me. They won't leave me alone. They're starting drama, and then they're wondering why somebody wants to, threaten to beat them up. Because ironically enough, they were messing with all the black women on camp, on in that dorm, and then they act like it was all sweet. Like they really thought that was sweet. They could just bully people. But yeah, they were bullying all the black women in the dorm, and that's when Allie said, nobody's gonna save you, right? Nobody's gonna save you. And if you guys heard me drinking something, I'm sorry. I'm thirsty. But yeah, he told him nobody's gonna save you because you're threatening people and you're messing with people. Now, when somebody threatens to beat you up, don't ask for help. And those girls were shocked when he said that to them. But yeah, they were just, baffled. Like, why won't you help us? And that's when he told them, I'm not going to help you because you caused these problems on your own. And come to find out, I found out from him that those girls were actually friends of his sisters. Now, mind you, like his sister, because I've met her on multiple occasions. She's rude. She's rude. And she's she's really rude. And she doesn't know how to talk to people. Today we call her a Karen. She's entitled. She's a Karen. She thinks she's white. Don't let that white fool you. But you know what? I'm not going into that. But she's what we all call today a Karen. And her friends were like Karens. Like all of them were just Karens together. And I was like, look, you causing your own problems. Stop that. That's stupid. It's really stupid. Stop trying to, cause trouble. But yeah, she thought he would come to her rescue. I died laughing. Like, honey, he's not coming to your rescue. That man's not coming to your rescue. I don't know how else nicely to tell you this, city. But yes. And also, yes, I did change her clothes. And yes, I did change the color. But I will say this. As that played out, there's something I need to add. All right, import image. But yes, that was extremely wild. And the thing is, he literally meant that. And I understand because I wouldn't help them either. But the thing is, they put targets on their own back. They put targets on their own backs. And then they were surprised when when they said, we don't want nothing to do with you. But yeah, But yeah, they were a little devastated that he said, "Leave me alone." But yes, and them hoes thought they were slick. But but mm, but after that little incident happened, Allie came over to her room, came over to Carla's room because he left something. Thing is, after eating, he's like, "I remember why I came over here." He's like, "Oh, I need to get something. I need to get something out of your room." And that also, oh man, once he said that, they were mad that he had to go get something out of her room. Oh, they were mad. Like they were pissed. And she was like, "Okay, whatever." And she just walked off to her room, opened her door, whatever. And then prior to that, the guy said, "Thanks, man." He said, "Thanks, man." And girls got on my, trying not to curse a lot, said they got on my nerves. He said, "Oh, believe me, I know them." I said, "I know them, so don't worry." He said, I know her. I know them respectively. So you don't have to worry about a thing. So, as I said, they bothered him. He won't be bothered. But he went into her room. He left. Thing is, this is one thing you don't leave anywhere. Albert was in such a rush that he left his wallet. Now, Karu didn't know that the wallet is what was left. She looked at him real funny. She said, "Why the hell did you leave this in my room?" And he said, "I didn't know I left it. Don't get mad at me." And Carl was like, "I'm not mad at you. Just be more responsible." Like I was being responsible. But those girls scared me so bad that I left it. And then, she's like, "How did you get into the caf?" He said, he said, "I have my student ID on me. I did not have my regular, I did not have my regular ID on me." I was like, "Oh God." So if you drove back to where you were, what happened if you, she was like, "I need you to do better." I mean, all she said is, "I need you to do better." He's like, "Leave me alone. I didn't mean to. I told you." And I'm not changing the color of her thing again. Or, uh, I was. But yes, he left the one thing you never leave anywhere, your wallet. I had, the thing is, Karu had his wallet and he left it on her bed. Thankfully, she didn't sit on her bed because it was right where she sleeps. Because he fell asleep in there. He just left it. He was a little too carefree. I think now he's not as carefree. And I hope he's not in his grown ass age. But he left it. She opened her door, she gave it to him and told him, please, with all due respect, don't leave your stuff in my room. Because I don't know what's gonna happen next. Because I don't know if those crazy girls will try to come in my room again. He was like, wait, what? And that's when she told him, those crazy girls, didn't you say those were friends of your sister? He said, the ones I showed you before, yeah, but does she have more friends here? And that's when he told her, yeah, she has more friends here. It's just that I avoid them. And she said, that's cool and all. She said, that's cool and all. But at the same time, she realized she's going to be targeted herself. She said it herself, like, no, them hoes are going to try to do stuff to her now. That, now that she's associated with them, in which they did bother her. They bothered her badly to the point that she almost swung on, let's put it like this, she almost swung on one of them. And it was a justified swing, by the way. But those, because the thing is, one of those girls was actually Haru's next door neighbor. Like, not neighbor, but like they all lived in the same suite. They lived right across from each other. Because the thing is, she was like, oh my god, I didn't know you. Like, oh my gosh, you actually stay. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were in here, Allie. I didn't know. Now, after she spoke, he got so scared. He was so terrified. I have never seen him that terrified in my life. And our life. And it concerned us. So yeah, a little, it concerned us a little bit. And like I said, it concerned all of us just a little bit, just a little bit. And just concerned us a little bit is all. In which it definitely concerned me, concerned us, because we don't know what them those girls were gonna do to him, because they had intentions and they were strong. They wanted, let's put it like this, they wanted him bad. That one girl wanted him badly, but she didn't know how to control herself and act like she has some sense. But here's that. And then the other one, who is no better, who was just a friend that comes over every once in a while, was shocked that that he comes over to her room. You know, she she just I didn't like her. But after all that madness, well, after that madness, and Karu gave back ID. Carter told him, leave before I smack those girls. He said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'll call you when I get back. He said, when I get back to my room. She was like, okay. And as soon as he made it back, those girls tried to find out what he had going on, saying, how long have you known him? And how long, just asking her a million questions. Like she pays like they're like they owe her money or something like that. And that kind of, turned turned her the wrong way, because she was like, why are you so nosy? That man don't want nothing to do with you. But the thing is, basically, he spoke to her like he usually does. And as usual, I'm not gonna say what he said, but let's put it like this. He was so comfortable around her that he didn't have to worry about her telling his business. And that those girls got kind of mad. Got kind of mad that, that they just got kind of mad. Let's put it like this. They just got mad that she could talk to him freely and they could never do that. But yeah, they tried to listen, which I thought was which Carter thought that was cute. That they tried it. It was kind of cute that he thought they could listen. But how can I put this? But yes. Yeah. She tried it. But but as but after that talk, ironically enough, there were two girls that Rumiko used to hang out with from when they were younger. They ironically went to the same college we went to. And Karu overheard them say something that, you know, friends don't say. Put it like that. Friends don't say. So what the thing, let's put it like that. Friends don't say about friends. But something specifically stuck out to Karu is when they said he misses her. We should let him come see her on campus because I heard she lives in this dorm. Remember that dusty nigga remember how Kendra called that man a dusty N-word? Well, guess what? They got that dusty N-word to come up to the campus. And unfortunately, that, let's put it like this. They called that dusty N word, and Karu overheard this conversation saying, and they said, "Hey, have you seen Rumiko? I heard she goes to school here." And they're like, I heard she goes to school here. Hey, you think you can get in contact with her so we can talk this over? Now, mind you, the dusty N word is her tox is what is a very narcissistic man. Today we call them toxic. He was, let's put it like this. From what Rumiko explained to Karu, that he was like the perfect guy. Those friends hooked her up with him. Like, they basically, those friends hooked her up with him back when they were in high school. They were like high school sweethearts. And he he wanted to keep her around him. All like keep them around. So they were like, basically those two friends were his flying monkeys. And as they were his flying monkeys, those are his flying monkeys, which unfortunately, you gotta deal with that. But today we call those two friends we call him toxic, and those were his flying monkeys. And as she left, she already left him already, and he just didn't, he couldn't come to terms with it. But yes, this is how my illustration looks so far, but he just couldn't let her go. And because he couldn't let her go, he was trying everything under the sun to try to get her back. And the thing is, he didn't know where she was. That's the thing. He didn't know where she was. He was looking for her. He was like, searching for her like crazy until them two snitched on her. And now he wanted to come to the campus saying he misses her. Now, mind you, Kara already knew what the game was about, and she wanted to warn her friend that very moment. But at the time, she was hanging out with Tomoe in her room because he was helping her with something, and I didn't want to scare. And well, Haru didn't want to scare her, which to this very day, Karu wished that she would have told her at that moment, and certain events wouldn't have happened. But as I always say, everything happens for a reason, and let's put it like this: everything happens for a reason. But as I said, I'm finishing this. But yes, as I'm, finishing this up. Yes, as I am finishing this up. Yes, as I'm finishing this up. All right, Cliff Studio, don't be a bitch. And as I said, let's see if I can do some finished touches. Yeah, let's change this shadows because it don't look right and it's bothering me. It's about a different level. Let me change the color. Turn this off. But yeah. But yes, flying monkeys. Oh yes, the flying monkeys and Carter should have said something, but they said things happen for a reason, unfortunately. Unfortunately. But let's get this skirt together. Get this skirt together. But yes, unfortunately. One of Haru's slash my biggest regrets. I could have helped her. Is what it is. But after all the madness, things, let's put it like this, even though things happen for a reason, she was so happy. The thing is, Haru didn't want to stop her at that moment because she called Rumiko to ask her, is she okay? How's she doing? And she was like, I'm fine. Why do you ask? I'm up here with Tomoe. Tomoe's helping me build something. And Carl's like, okay, well, have fun, you two. He's like, I don't know about all that. But Carl was like, girls, you know what I mean. And she said, okay. And then she told him, basically, she told her, have a great night. But that night she prayed that no hurt, harm, or danger would come towards her. But life be life and things happen for a reason, like I said. Now, as you see, I'm done. I called this piece Girls' Day Off. Because guess what? As we all know, every one of us needs a day off. And also a mental health day. If you know, you know. But if you want to hear any other stories, especially, you know what? My next stream will be on chapter 13. That's what it's going to be on. It's going to be on chapter 13. That is a fact. Because while yes, it's very sad, it's very sad what happened to Rumiko and Tomoe, but there are some funny moments within the madness. Well, actually, no. There's been, you know what? I'll just go into it. Something else crazy happened prior to this, but I may just go into chapter 13. But I will ask. You know what? I may ask on Twitter if people want me to do chapter 13 or the event prior to it. But yes, this is Girls' Day Off. They don't do that to me now. Aqua Studio, don't play them games with me today. I already had enough problem this morning with my laptop. I ain't got time for all that. But my socials are in the bio. Other than that, my name is Rev already, and this is ReveDraws. See you next time.